welcome back to Crypto Bits. I'm your host, Brittany, and today we have Bitcoin's best friend, entrepreneur, and visionary, Jack Liu from RelayX joining us. Hello, Jack. How are you doing today?
Hey, Brittany. Thanks for the introduction. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So, do you think you could start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and how you've made it to where you are now, and how the previous projects you've worked on have helped push you and guide you in your development of all the projects you're working on? Because you are working on quite a few right now.
Yeah, I entered Bitcoin in 2013 and was fascinated by the ramifications it had for the world. I was in banking before, so I kind of was a student through the Lehman crisis, the financial crisis. I kind of understood that like Bitcoin was a solution to the entire thing. And with that understanding, I didn't know how to get into the industry, so I was really a blogger for a while, and got picked up by Kraken, and then had a follow-on stint with a long stint with OK as the head of international and chief strategy officer, and around that time, that's when BCH existed. I was kind of inside a lot of the scaling debates in 2016 and 15 and 17, and that's when I started thinking in the back of my head, like maybe one day I'll go build on BCH full time, but I didn't think I was really ready. So I did another stint with, now these guys are the co-founders of CMS, at the time Circle Trading. So I built out the Circle Trading Asia desk. So I kind of was able to learn from Silicon Valley, from the Wall Street trading regulated side of stuff that Circle is doing, and also from China, building OK out of Beijing and Hong Kong, and how the Chinese side sees it. So it brought a lot of perspectives, and I felt ready around March, April 2019. That's when I kind of built out what is called RelayX and associated ecosystem around that. And at that time, it became BSV. So I felt like this was one of our last chances to resurrect what I thought was the vision I understood in 2013.
And what is that vision? Let's elaborate on that for a second.
Yeah, I think I had read in college this paper by Robert Coase, Ronald Coase, which is funny because I think Ryan X. Charles just named his company Coase, right? Coasian. And the paper really explained that corporations really only exist not because people want to work with their friends, not because necessarily like it's not like a precondition to need to be a part of a corporation to succeed. It's more like there are a lot of frictions in running a project that you sometimes are better off with more people. But the best economic thesis is not only just small government, but you'd have almost like no firm. So this is like the paper is called Theory of the Firm. And when I read about Bitcoin, I kind of understood it as the theory of the investor.
Okay.
And my whole life, I knew that, a lot of people in this world make money from investing. And that's fair because you take risk and you invest in a project, it turns out great, that's great. But there's a lot of staking in this world, whether it's like money grows on money, right? It's like you have to have money to make money, this idea. But I, as maybe being a lefty kind of a person, I had known that there's a lot of creative people out there. The people who are just playing music on the street corner and things like that. They bring a lot of joy and happiness, and whether it's teachers or mentors, whatever, they're people who are creators everywhere. They don't get a fair shot in this economic system, but Bitcoin, because the system itself is proof of work, and it has basically, like Bitcoin could be 100 years old and it is as new as it was in 2008. That is not true for any other system. So like if you look at, Walmart, okay, well, let's disrupt Walmart because we're gonna make Amazon. And why does it do that? Because the interest of a blockbuster or things like that, it all accrues to the original investors and the founders of Blockbuster. So then when someone has a brilliant idea for like online streaming video or music or movies, they go off and set up a new company called Netflix. Now this is nice, but as a base layer economic system, especially as a blockchain, what really drew me to Bitcoin was the idea that because the system has no drag, no like taxation, no like you must give a royalty to the original people who hold the Bitcoin since 2009. Every single cent of transaction fees on the network, every Satoshi goes to the current best miner. It does not matter if you were the #1 miner in 2012. It does not matter if you hold 1 million Bitcoins. That is a beautiful system that is almost like self-evolutionary, good AI type of thing. And to me, even though BSV is so much smaller than BCH or much smaller than BSV, I know that the properties of that system still remains. So as long as the chain is unbounded and it can scale, then that to me is going to be the chain. Our generation might not be able to make it happen because there's obviously a lot of other forces out there in the world. You're basically disrupting a lot of things. But to me, it felt like a force that you couldn't stop. So I could quit Bitcoin today and go move on to work on Ethereum. That wouldn't matter. Craig could do that too. Calvin could do that too. It literally wouldn't matter. BSV would still be fine. There'll be some new kid who comes in from Malaysia or something and says, okay, well, good riddance, Jack. I'm going to go build something better. And that's something that is like really makes you think hard about removing the ego, how really important or not important you are. So you have to do this for the right reasons. And on that type of infrastructure, it will also apply because not only do the Bitcoins run that way, but the data on chain runs that way, the tokens on chain runs that way. So it creates a world that is a world of continuous opportunity for the individual, no matter where you are. There's no borders on this blockchain. There's no judgment of race or color or whatnot. And so it's just a beautiful vision, something I would have, if I'm being a little bit arrogant, I would have thought before Bitcoin existed that that world would be amazing, but I would have never been able to invent that. So to me, whatever job I'm doing now, building in this thing is the easy job because of the hard job of someone inventing that system was already done by Satoshi Nakamoto. So I'm having a great time just kind of building that out. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, that's a great vision. I think you're right on the money with that, and in the past, you've mentioned that you believe that the future of commerce is through tokenization. So can you elaborate on that and explain how you believe RelayX is potentially paving the way for commerce tokenization?
Yeah. So, I mean, look at the number of items you can get in a grocery store. Just that's like a few thousand items. You can get, like millions of titles of movies or items on hundreds of millions of items on eBay and things like that. Bitcoin is really efficient when it can just stay on the chain itself. So if I were to use Bitcoin to go to a store and buy a bag of chips, that's not so efficient because those chips don't exist on the blockchain. So I need to go through some payment processor. They need to do some kind of weird accounting, charge me a VAT and things like this. This is not where Bitcoin works because what's the point of a nano transaction or an instant transaction if all the things surrounding it is off chain? So I believe that this is what explains a lot of the DeFi boom, a lot of the NFT boom, is that more things are moving on chain, right? And
Okay.
Bitcoin, if you have tokenization, these tokens can represent items or digital goods or whatnot, and then you can build products that helps you own, trade, send, make all kinds of things on things that wouldn't exist. Like today, if me and you were to form a company, we'd have to I don't know what jurisdiction you're in, you don't know what jurisdiction I'm in. We have to agree on some nation state to set up our company in. Then we have to have share registries. Then you have a friend that you want to join our company, and then we have to cut that person in. We don't know how to do that. They don't know we have a board meeting every 3 months. A lot of these things are very inefficient. What Ethereum and what other blockchains are telling you is that, okay, as you know, Bitcoin smart contracting capabilities were restricted for many years, right?
Mm.
And so they threw up a new blockchain. It's clearly very inefficient, but whatever you see being experimented on there is only going to be even bigger when that stuff comes over to BSV. So I take that kind of approach of an efficient economy and a granular economy, so that you don't just have a single token representing like Apple stock as a complete replacement of the Apple shares registry in Delaware. You would end up having essentially every department of Apple, every single product. Like I want to be able to pre-buy the iPhone 14. I don't really want to buy a token that represents the profits of the Apple company. You understand? Like, because that's really backwards, right? Like the way the economy works right now is that I get my earnings in dollars. I have to figure out what I can do with the dollars. Like, yes, I can buy the iPhone 14 next year in dollars, but then the problem is that price might go up. Certainly if it's healthcare or education or whatnot. So even those price or housing, even those prices in dollars, my dollars are not growing. So then I have to think about something to do with my dollars, whether it's invest in BTC or even invest in BSV. That still doesn't make sense because yeah, over the long term, these things go up. But what's long term? Like a year, 5 years? Like Warren Buffett is really old and he's really rich, but like most people don't want to be rich when they're old, right? And some people don't even have a goal of being rich. They just want to do what they want to do, right?
Right.
And if you have tokenization, then you can granularly, it wouldn't even be called invest. It's just called like making your own stablecoin basket, essentially. Like you're not buying Dogecoin and then a year later selling Dogecoin and then buying the stuff that you want to buy. You can just pre-buy tokens of this stuff so that you have one token equals one iPhone, one token equals one ticket to a movie, so that like you can basically have a stable life that allows you to not think about money at all. And so there'll still be people that do think about money, but today I think like 90% of the people have to think about money all the time. I could see a world where like 90% of people really don't think about money because it's all like programmed in, all set, like whatever. And you can think about the arts or the spiritual stuff. A lot of people are into meditation. You can think about family raising, really think about like what you want to do on this planet. That is, I think, the ultimate result of tokenizing everything is that at some point people aren't asking, oh, is this token going up 100x? Is that token going up 20x? It's like that will just be kind of hidden into the background. I think we're a long ways away from that. And right now, still a speculator's market, but that's kind of the long-term vision.
This is why I called you a visionary at the beginning in the intro, right? Is because you're able to see past the current narrative in the cryptocurrency market right now. In BSV in particular, because we're all about the BSV, right? We're all about the true Bitcoin. Sure. And I had to make that distinction there for people that may be non-BSVers. But in the BSV community, I feel like there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack right now. There's a little bit of heated debates going on about the vision and where we should take this. And then some people are focusing more on, the price aspect. And then others are focusing more on, hey, let's just build and see what this can do. Let's bring Bitcoin to its maximum potential and really create a vision of this new world that it could be capable of doing. But I feel like there's a lot of things in the way of us really achieving those visions when we're stuck fighting amongst each other. And I know you've had some things to say and some comments. And
hit me. What do you want? What do you want me? What are we talking about? Hit me.
Well, recently we've been there's issues with the miners going on right now, and what it is that we should be doing with the miners. The community really needs to come up or formulate a plan around what we can do to fix this miner issue. And I feel like we're getting to the point where people are just like, okay, I'm done waiting. I'm going to just start doing. I'm going to start trying to fix this problem. And it's coming, but it's not coming fast enough. It's not, I don't feel like we're getting the resolve that we're looking for in terms of how do we really fix this, because we're too stuck fighting amongst each other about it. And, so what do you believe is going to be the result of issues going on in the community, specifically in regards to the miners?
Yeah, I think there's really no fight going on. There's just one side that's very stubborn to the way they think the world works, and there's the way that the world could work, and that's not proven yet. But there's a few of us who kind of understand what's going on. So like, I want to take a step back. So the way to think about this in my head is that whatever vision you like in my head, or what I like about someone else's vision, whatever, everything is a coordination problem. So in theory, in my mind, tomorrow, literally tomorrow, everything that I'm talking about could already happen.
Right.
There's 8 billion people, right?
Right.
Like we can all take a coffee break right now. We can all like, I'm looking at a pool right now. We can all not go for a swim. If we all work 1 hour times 8 billion people, you can make everything I talked about happen immediately.
Right.
But there's a coordination problem. Like, why would I do that? Do I get paid from that? It's like, right? So it's almost like the movie Inception, right? If you can incept this idea into people's minds, you have millions of people right now who are very familiar with cryptocurrency who can work on it. A lot of people who are right now in BSV that's on this other traditional side, they don't understand that. They only understand a very small portion of Bitcoin's capabilities. Perhaps they don't want to see Bitcoin become that explosive that quickly, right? This is like the singularity moment, right? It's gonna, like, it can happen today. If you want to, it can happen today. It's just right now, maybe Neuralink doesn't exist or something like that doesn't exist. Like, there's no way to actually pass through the exact formula of how to do it. People do it by tweeting, and then people like the tweets and retweet it, and they kind of get the ideas, and then the ideas kind of proliferate. That's kind of why I tweet, right? I tweet this stuff because even if 95% of people disagree with what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get at is the 5% of the people that are really smart, that are really capable, that maybe by seeing something really strange that I write that might make no sense, maybe controversial, it triggers a thought in their mind that, hey, maybe we shouldn't just wait for Tokenize to do it. Maybe the upcoming conference where they hyping that they're gonna release something, maybe they won't release anything. Maybe it's time for me to build something. And a group of people in China, I won't take credit at all, but like I have invested in a couple of those projects before they launched. They went off and built something called a sensible protocol. And it shows the power of power. And that's what token swap is run on, right? And that's what led to the miners not being able to process, is because the sphere of Bitcoin doesn't have to all flow through the same investor, through the same miner, through the same conferences. And that they're a great proof of that. Nobody in that team has a lot of followers on Twitter. The word sensible did not exist until they released it. Okay. And now that it does, there's a combined market cap today of about $150 million among all the tokens that's already been minted on the sensible protocol, which as a protocol didn't exist as even a concept until these guys met up in Zhuhai, of all places, in China in January of this year. A bunch of people said, hey, look, this is embarrassing. DeFi is popping on Solana, is popping on Ethereum.
So are NFTs.
So are NFTs. What is going on here? And they did it. And the funny thing is, now they are generating revenue, more revenue than any check Calvin Ayre has ever given to any project. Okay, period. So it shows that you don't need to go through the traditional process. And they are building some incredible infrastructure that hopefully we are too, that are going to empower the next person to not need 9 months to make a protocol to then make some projects. It's going to be happening in weeks and days and hours at some point. That is the power of Bitcoin. Because if Bitcoin doesn't allow you to do that, then what's the point? I'll just go register a traditional company. I'll go through the traditional VCs.
Right.
And so then you already see change always happens when like competition happens when change happens. So if there were just traditional transactions and mining was very unprofitable, then probably Tao can keep mining at a loss, right? You look at the balance sheet, it's mining at a loss.
Right.
But now there's a chance to mine at a profit. And that enters like Gorilla DAO. And think about the origin story of Gorilla DAO, right? That's only because Money Button allowed tokens to be minted. So out of the thousands of tokens that were minted on Money Button and Run, one of them happened to be Gorilla DAO. And to be honest, it's not even a DAO. Okay, let's be real. That thing has a word of DAO, maybe a future, it'll be a true DAO, but that buzzword generated a community of people where they're discussing. And then another token in China called Mattercoin. Meta ID. Okay, MC. They built that coin is essentially a subsidy coin. You know how like Bitcoin subsidizes the miners by giving them 50 Bitcoins per block, 25, 12 and a half until there's enough transaction fees. Well, they built a, as you know, uploading files to the blockchain is still ridiculously expensive.
Right.
Right. if I was a miner and maybe one day I'll be a miner, I'd just cut the whole fees by 100x, right? 50x, whatever. And because that's what I would do. But because the fees are so expensive, they're building a social network in China. Just like there's Twitter in the West and there's Twitter in the West and Weibo in China. There's Twitch in the West and there is something called Show Buzz in China. Okay. Got about 20,000 users. And because they type in Chinese, that's a very Chinese community on chain. They had a realization that people are paying too much to upload things onto the blockchain, because every time you upload pictures, like 50 cents, whatever. So they issued a platform token that basically said, if you post to Showbuzz, similar to like if you post to Twitch, whatever you spent on mining fees, we will rebate that in the form of MC tokens. And the value of MC tokens is that one day this platform, Showbuzz and whatever else in the Meta ecosystem, will incur like buybacks or rebates and things like that. So then that combined with token swap, which is like an AMM that allows you to trade MCs, created a situation where miners all of a sudden, you see the huge blocks happening, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right? Like it's easy to host a conference and pretend those huge blocks have anything to do with you. They don't, right? I can host a conference myself and be like, hey, look, these blocks are because of me. That's not. The truth is that it has nothing to do with that, right? The truth is that there is a subsidy coin and that exists now that is subsidizing the upload of files and data onto the blockchain. That explains almost every single megabyte of increase in that blockchain since May. You can start seeing it in April, May, June, and it really started going in July, August.
Right.
So this now gives miners two new impetus for coming into the system. So you have Gorilla DAO, which prior to a DAO token, whatever, you would maybe need a more capital to start a mining operation. Now they can start it. They have an MC token that is creating more transactions on chain. So now if I mine a block, I get more fees because now there's so much subsidized fees coming to miners. So that's great. Right. Then there's new transaction types, which are these both MC token and token swap token and every single token on Sensible. I'm not making any comments about the Sensible token protocol. That's just one of the token protocol. It might not be very good. Who knows? But that protocol right now requires larger script sizes as far as I know. And some of the minor default settings are not there. And it's supposed to break. Bitcoin's supposed to be a creatives everywhere, challenge the protocol, push it. Miners need to react to it. And if you're not set up to react to it, if you think you are dictating how things go, you're like, hey, I'm gonna host this conference, I'm gonna host this like meetup, I'm gonna host this like technical debate. You're not really understanding that Bitcoin is open to innovation from all corners of the world, whether you know about them or not. So you almost have to run your business. And people say you shouldn't be on Twitter. You should exactly be on Twitter or Twitch. You need to be on the information points of what's happening on chain as a miner, as an exchange, as a wallet, as a whatever.
Absolutely.
Like, right? Like the fact that I got caught napping and I don't have Relay supporting Sensible tokens is a joke, right? Like at some point, some other entrepreneur will just completely destroy me and our team because they're going to be first to kind of adopt whatever. And so Gorilla DAO, the Gorilla Pool, they are working hard, seeing this as an opportunity based on those three factors to kind of challenge Tao for that top miner position.
Oh yeah, that's well, I think this kind of plays into the next thing here, and that is, you know, you mentioned that they can't stop what's coming and to keep pounding the rock. What do you think will happen as the BSV blocks continue to get larger and larger and the fees continue to get smaller and smaller?
In terms of what? In terms of cryptocurrency industry happening, or in terms of like what's BSV?
Yeah.
I think if you look at what happened in the other ecosystems, I think BSV price will respond last. But when it does, it will be like a surge. So if you look at Ethereum last year, DeFi summer, right?
Right.
There was compound finance comes out in like, I think April, May, sets off this whole like subsidized based on providing liquidity. So in a similar story, just like the MC token is a subsidy for uploading content onto the blockchain, someone had basically made an exchange that subsidized market makers. So DeFi summer led to uni, sushi, whole bunch of other things. This is the time where every single fruit or food became a token, like excuse me, like yam tokens. I don't know, whatever else there was. And people were like, how come ETH price was not reacting to it? Later on, as people realized that to use all these protocols, you eventually need to buy ETH. Ethereum made this rally from like 200 something to $3,000. You see the same thing this year happen on Solana all throughout the first 3-4 months. And I'm just giving a historic narrative. I'm not saying I profited off that. I have no idea what's going on there, to be honest. But you have these projects, because the projects are smaller, right? The smaller, if you look at these tokens I'm talking about, MC has a market cap like $7 million. TokenSwap has a market cap of fully circulating and diluted, like it's $150 million, something like that. And Bitcoin is like 3 billion, right? It's always easier to move the ant than to move the big gorilla, right? So, but eventually when all these projects built on Bitcoin, there's a commonality, right? Like they're all using the Bitcoin blockchain. They're all using BSV token. They're not going to use stable coins. I'm sorry. Stable coins on the edge of the network. It's not on the core network. Like the core of the network, I don't care how big the US economy is. I don't care how big the UK economy is. Don't look at how big something is off chain, right? Like YouTube does not grow based on how big CNBC, CNN, and whatever it is. Like it doesn't matter how much content there is not on the internet. The native to the internet content is what grows YouTube, right? So it doesn't matter how big a currency is off of the blockchain. It does not matter how big a stock is off of the blockchain. Like now the blockchain, these different blockchains have been around for 10, 12 years now. Is Apple shares on the blockchain? No. Is Tesla shares on the blockchain? No. So like it literally doesn't matter. Like you could think like, oh, I need to have BD meetings, enterprise adoption. I know the CEO of these companies and they're coming to my conference. That literally is irrelevant to the growth of the network. The network is about the long tail. Technology is always about empowering the long tail, the individual. Before the internet empowered the individual to create content, freedom of speech, whatever it is, like information, e-commerce. Bitcoin is about freedom of like value. CZ talks about it. Lots of people talk about it. I happen to just like BSV as a chain because what I said at the beginning of the interview, because it can scale. So it'll do more of everything that you've seen in crypto. That's the idea. And so that's why I kind of push back, and me and others push back against this narrative of like all crypto is a scam. This other thing is all clean. BSV is all clean. That's just like, that's not what's going to happen.
So we were talking about, there's been some tension between people within the Bitcoin community, and there's been many things said. But I wanted to address one of your tweets specifically, and to quote here: the sooner you accept or pretend that there is no conspiracy to keep Bitcoin price suppressed, the sooner you'll wake up to what needs to happen for the price to rise. Let's talk about that for a second, right?
Sure.
That's a big statement there. And I mean, I get it because there's opposing viewpoints right now, but let's talk about yours.
Well, to start off, right? Like if you accept that the conspiracies can weigh Bitcoin down, then let's just stop working on Bitcoin. Let's just all quit. Like obviously Bitcoin's not very powerful, right? If some of these conspiracies can just weigh Bitcoin, then maybe just wait until someone invents a better technology, because like clearly this one's not good enough. So that's obviously not what I believe. That's not what you believe. That's not what anyone believes. So when there is this idea that there's a conspiracy, and by the way, I don't think myself as a conspiracy theorist, but I have educated myself on almost every kind of conspiracy that people read. Like maybe I'm wearing a collar shirt with my hair done well, that people don't think I'm a conspiracy. I read about flat Earth. Okay, I read about fakes moon landing. Okay, I 9/11, whatever. It's just like there's a lot of content on the internet, right? I read about that, fake elections, whatever. Like I know, I understand that. So I'm very well aware of whatever potential conspiracies people think people have against BSV, right? But so what? Like there's shorting. Okay, so what? There's like exchanges who don't list it. like I said, the whole idea of Bitcoin is that because it's unbounded scale, you can build all of this on chain yourself. You don't necessarily need exchanges, right? So you don't have to make this about we hate them, they're working against us. Like the more you play that way, the more people, I mean, I sometimes read about just like tactically, it's just not wise to do that, right? And I don't know what draws Craig to approach it that way, or maybe I'm more friendly because I've worked in that industry. I have lots of friends there who've made incredible amounts of money. I talk to them sometimes. They don't have anything against BSV. They're rooting for us to succeed, and if it succeeds, they're just capitalists, right? They're going to move their funds over, their investments over to BSV.
They're going to go to whatever works best.
They're going to whatever works best. So I just think the conspiracy stuff is just like making excuses. So what I said specifically was, the sooner you accept or pretend, which is to acknowledge that maybe these conspiracies are real, but it's still better for you to pretend that they're not real so you can get on with working on things instead of having this kind of like, oh, woe is me, I'm so unlucky, I would have been rich if there was no conspiracy against BSV, I can't believe life is so like that's like a schmuck kind of attitude in my opinion. And I think a lot of people like blaming it on these conspiracies because they don't have solutions, right? And so I'm trying to get the reader sense. Right? I'm trying to get the reader to think, no, what else could you be doing instead of just blaming it on these conspiracies?
No, that makes a ton of sense right there. I mean, I think you put it very eloquently. And you know, I have nothing wrong. I have nothing against them, right? The people making this narrative, you know, I'm for them. But yeah, it makes sense. If there's all these conspiracy theories evolving around Bitcoin, then why even bother? If it is the way that they're saying that it is, why even bother? It's might as well just stop, because if it's true, then so
I mean there's just so much you can build on Bitcoin otherwise. So we can just go through these problems one to one, right? Like, why do we care about exchanges not supporting Bitcoin? Well, yeah, because you have a liquidity problem, right? So if you just withdraw your coins from exchanges, you did not improve Bitcoin's liquidity, because like, where did you withdraw them to? Some cold wallet and whatnot. Yes, you won't get hacked. That's great. But the key answer to this is build exchanges that are better than centralized exchanges, okay? And then that way users will just naturally move over to whatever. So you can't tell a Facebook user or Twitter user, hey, you might get your account blocked because look at these other people who got censored, so therefore you should move. I mean, I run these platforms, I know the difficulty of that message. Like, no one's leaving YouTube to come to Streamanity because of the 1 in a million chance that they're gonna get their account censored, right? The key to winning all of this is you have to just build a better YouTube. You have to just build a way better Twitter. You have to build a way better exchange on BSV. You can't appeal to this idea of, as long as I embargo or as long as I commit to not using Twitter and I only use Twitch, that attitude, that will only go so far, right? Because you can't appeal to people's like kind of consciousness. Like, you can't assume that you can just wake people up from whatever thing you think you're waking. Like, there's a lot of people in BSV basically that understand the theory of Bitcoin very well, but not really understand how to make this reality happen. And so what they like to do is they like to appeal their wisdom, their wokeness, their like, I'm so enlightened, and like they try to talk down to either the rest of the cryptocurrency community, who you think they're dumb and they're not woke and they're, you know, trapped in the matrix, when they might not be. They might be very woke. They might be just like, this, it is what it is. I'm just making a lot of money right now. So you can't underestimate these people like that. And so you have to just remove all that, this whole like, I saved Bitcoin, like without me there wouldn't even be Bitcoin today. Like, that's just garbage, right? Like, there will still be Bitcoin today. Like, I'm sorry, like that narrative is just, that's what you want to believe because it makes you feel like really good. I think the next challenge, because Bitcoin is now ready, I'm telling you, the technology is now ready. I have been saying that for a while, but it really is now ready. The people who is able to and I put myself as a challenge for me too, because I've kind of, you know, talked nonsense on Twitter a lot too. But the people who are going to able to take advantage of the protocol at this point and just build, they're going to be successful. And then all this altruistic vision that you might have for Bitcoin's future, it'll just naturally happen.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think there is a little bit of toxicity in regards to how the BSV community treats the outside world in cryptocurrency. And I think we do need to be building those bridges. Like you were talking about NFTs with the Solana group the other day. And you were talking about, hey, look, they were talking about, hey, look at all these things happening on Solana, these NFTs, look at the market, look what's happening. And then you're over here like, yeah, well, we're doing NFTs over here on RelayX. We've got this whole market, you can mint things. There's all these cool things that you can do. Let's collaborate. And I think that's the way that we help move things forward, is by stop treating the other people outside of the BSV community like they don't know what they're talking about because they don't understand the true Bitcoin or what it can do. And they're stuck in this perpetual loop of how do I make money? Let's, speculation, so on and so forth. And I think you had a lot. Those are some very powerful statements I think you just made, and I think it's the way that we build those bridges forward.
We need better bridges between the different companies inside the BS ecosystem too. So
absolutely.
That will happen from emails, and that will not happen from having conventions. I'm hoping one of the companies here in BSV just becomes massively huge, and it's okay. They can have 90% of the market share if they want, and that would, from pure market forces, force everyone else to adopt their standards, and do that. If you look at most of these ecosystems, you have like Vitalik, who's leading Ethereum, right? Coinbase is very supportive of the Ethereum ecosystem. You have obviously CZ, very supportive of the Binance chain ecosystem. So a lot of that stuff is kind of built in. In BSV, you have basically, because it's such a grassroots effort, because essentially 19 million of the 21 million coins were all airdropped to people who mine BTC or don't care about BSV or whatever. Like there's not a lot of capital to begin with. So you have a lot of grassroots people. You have a couple of kids essentially in China making Volt wallet. You have a few kids in Spain. And I would call myself a kid too. Like just like young adults who are like building this stuff. So you end up with this, you have so many different standards, right? You have the Fabric token protocol standard. You have Run, Sensible. And and that's why I speak to, it's that like these investment dollars that Calvin is putting in, it didn't actually resolve any of these things because all these surprises are still popping up. And so Bitcoin will make it with or without his investment, to be honest. But if you wanted to help it make it faster, or anyone else wants to make it help faster, I'm just trying to kind of guide people's mindset towards what's going to happen. So I hope one of these companies becomes massive, and then that will generate this kind of a common protocol that I'm talking about.
I think it's very interesting to hear the things that you're saying right now, coming from the standpoint of the CEO that has been part of all of these big projects, and then to hear how humble you are about your experience, your knowledge, and then your want and your drive and your passion just to move forward and to spark that innovative drive within other people. I think that's quite the breath of fresh air that the community needs, and I'm liking that. Let's talk about RelayX for a moment, though,
sure,
right?
Sure.
What are your plans? I mean, RelayX is awesome. You're able to, buy and sell goods, NFTs, coins. It's a DEX. It's a wallet. It feels like it's a kind of one-stop shop for all your needs, right? I mean, in a way. But what do you have planned for the future of apps being built on RelayX? What are some things that you guys are looking forward to? What are some things that we can look forward to?
Yeah. So RelayX is like self-funded. It's not got any outside influence. And I think Relay, we want to be the embodiment of the vision that I described earlier in this interview.
Right.
So we want the individual to hold their own keys. Right? We don't want to talk down to people saying, "Oh, they don't want to hold their own keys. We'll hold it for them." Like, we don't want to do that. Like, we'll own their own keys, own their own data. We want to have build more. We want to be really open source. So like our resources are limited, but we would like to open up Relay completely. I've been saying this for a long time. And if any developer wants to help us do that, come in and we'll just open up a Relay today. We're not really fearful of, so we have no patents. I don't think we'll ever apply for a patent. So me and our team will go to our grave without our name in the record books or whatever you want to call it. So we're just about like giving users more flexibility of what they can do with their Bitcoin. So like you said, we can now let you buy NFTs, right? There's so much more to do with that. Like whether it's royalties, whether it's like having an on-chain identity. Like right now, these users have these one handles, just like you have your dollar handles on Handcash. Technically, if Handcash wanted to just change your handle, they can. Okay. Well, if they want to shut down as a company, same with Relay, we can just be like, sorry, your handles don't work anymore. Okay, that's probably not very good, right?
Right.
That's not going to go. Now you can keep thinking is very good because you keep on comparing to the way handles work on Square or Cash App. Like, but I'm talking about not comparing to how the world works today, but comparing to really a full Bitcoin future. And so even on the matter of identity, you want the user to have their own identity, so that if you don't use Relay and you load up some new kid from Malaysia's new NFT marketplace, your one handle, and what's yours, Brittany?
CryptoBits.
CryptoBits, right. So yeah, CryptoBits. You should be able to log into another app and it'll just say, oh, welcome CryptoBits. And that app is not because they're using our APIs on Relay. I mean, your identity should be on chain as CryptoBits.
So it should just be automatically recognized regardless of what platform I get on.
Not because you connect to the Handcash Connect API, not because you connect to the Relay API. It should be like I think of our company not as a technology company. Like, how like people make Apple and everything was in the Apple ecosystem, right? And then you have an iPhone, right? And you have and you're stuck to the iPhone, like you're stuck to this ecosystem. Bitcoin, what it does is makes all these tech companies more like iPhone cases. So you have your Bitcoins and all the data and all the information you have on Bitcoin that you fully own yourself. You just choose to use today a green case called Handcash or a blue case called Relay that help you interpret that data, manipulate that data, write more data, interact with other people. But you should be able to use any other app. Now that sucks in terms of in some ways, like, yeah, does that make our company less powerful? Sure, right? But it makes Bitcoin more powerful. So the idea here is that you even as a founder of these companies want to own a piece of the Bitcoin network, the BSV tokens, and then build yourself as interfaces to the blockchain. That's what Twetch says, right? Like the few of us who kind of understand that mantra, because this chain can be infinitely scaled, it's best to just jump ahead. So whatever Relay builds, we are always going to have a mantra of make money from the fact that people are using our software or our interface, but we don't want to control the user to be like stuck with us. And to the extent that they are still stuck with us because there's a one handle that is like running on Paymail, we spend a lot of our time thinking about how to get us off of Paymail, right? We spend a lot of time. So there's a lot of people complain like there's certain UI fixes on Relay, and we understand that, right? But our core engineering team is really about trying to bring that power of Bitcoin to the end user level.
So sort of like creating profiles on the blockchain where when that is accessed by different platforms, your user profile kind of just shows up and all the information's already there and you're just connecting with it. Is that the dumbed down version of what you're saying?
Yeah, that's just the one thing, like identity, right? And then like your avatars on Relay can be an NFT too. So like,
but from a business perspective, once you start letting go of some of that control, that's what you're using to help generate income, because that's identifying you as a company versus your competitors, right? So like, oh,
Yeah, but here's the thing that people don't really understand is that like in the traditional world where you earn US dollars, you have to own shares. So you join a company because you're like, oh, I'm a co-founder, I have 20% equity of this company, or I invest in this company, I have 5% of Uber or something. And then you want this company to be like everlasting and like constantly grow earnings, like Wall Street earning calls. Oh, what's your expectations for 2022 earnings? How about 5 years from now? Do a discounted cash flow, all this kind of like stuff, right? Bitcoin is about constant like disruption. So yes, the company will probably not exist in like 5, 10, 20 years, right? But what you did was in the meantime, you did earn Bitcoins. You didn't earn US dollars. So then whoever did disrupt your company 5 years down the line, 2 days down the line, whatever it is, they're going to end up trying to build on Bitcoin, and they're going to bring more powerful uses to Bitcoin, so that your earnings from before retained their value and in fact grew. So the way the Bitcoin network should work is that today maybe there's like 50 companies, let's say, that all make like 10 Bitcoins a day or something like that. In the later stages, there'll be 500 million companies that each make a little bit of Bitcoins. So your power is constantly decreasing as a percentage of the network's like kind of flow of funds. But because you were early and you were one of the first 50 companies or one of the first like 5,000 users and whatever, you were able to earn a disproportionately higher number of Bitcoin units at the beginning.
Right.
That's what you want to do. Now, if you take the approach of I'm one of the 50 companies right now in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is just a ledger, it's just like a timestamp, it's just a whatever, I just leverage it to like do whatever, then what your vision is not growing Bitcoin, your vision is leveraging Bitcoin to grow your existing business. Now, that seems like it's possible because for most people, it's impossible to imagine what this like 500 million company future I'm talking about. I mean,
right.
An artist posting NFTs every single day, that's her job, that's her income. That is a company, right? Like in this new world, right? Because you're empowering people to just basically be self-entrepreneur at a very micro level. Because you don't see the world as like a moving thing, it's very easy to have these Twitter debates saying, oh, you're wrong. Like, how can you say I'm wrong? Because I got this business lined up. They're coming to my conference next week. They're going to launch this. Like, you're not understanding this system evolves. Okay. Like this system's going to evolve very fast. So I think that if you manage to not make Bitcoin grow, then the people who take a more patent approach, a more rigid, I only believe in Bitcoin for this, but I want to keep these moats to myself, those guys will actually comparatively look like winners. Just like how the proof of stake blockchains in the last 1.5 years have completely outperformed BSV, right? It's because you never really made BSV's power come through. So again, if you can make this world evolve the way I'm talking about, then this strategy that I'm deploying will seem to make sense. If you can't, then you will perpetually think that what I'm saying is just a vision. I'm just saying from my understanding of Bitcoin, our team's understanding of Bitcoin, what I'm saying is definitely possible. It's a matter of who else is going to join this and approach it this way. And that's kind of why I often try to inspire like the nobodies, the people who don't come from a different certain background, because they're the ones that have nothing to lose. They're the ones that don't have a stake in the current system. They're the ones that this network really empowers. So whether that's artists, creators, or new entrepreneurs coming out of China, Pakistan, wherever, these are the people that I want my message to go to, because they're the ones who can kind of get us towards moving faster towards that billion tokens, billion company kind of future. Makes
Absolutely.
sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. There was one thing in particular, I saw you tweet, and I wanted to say, it was like right before we got on here to start talking, and it was about you wanted media to, start be talking about NFTs and IDOs and all of these things. If you could touch on any of that right now before we wrap things up, that like, hey, I really want to get this off my chest, I really want to say this because it's important, what would it be?
I just think that that tweet was mostly about having been in the cryptocurrency industry and having interacted with crypto media versus traditional media, I know that something will happen in BSV very quickly, in that you see that Bloomberg News also talks about crypto all the time. CNBC now talks about crypto all the time. Why? Because the other stuff they talk about only trades 9 to 4, Monday to Friday. There's nothing else to talk about. There's no price action after the hours, before the morning bell, like this kind of stuff. Crypto's trading 24/7, right? So right now you have this opportunity of CoinGeek reports on a lot of like regulation, law, like court cases, like some product launches. I think my guess is that they have a hesitancy to report on, oh, what's the TSC price trading at? What's the MC price trading at? What is Twetch eggs trading at today? New NFT launches. They don't really want to cover this granular stuff that's happening nascently in the BSV ecosystem. They'll talk about it at a big picture level, like Relay launches NFTs, or Handcash is going to have dual docs, right? There is going to be an opportunity for a dedicated team or multiple teams to set up Twitter bots, to set up like, look at the number of followers that CoinGeek has on YouTube. It's not very much, right? But if you look at crypto media, where they keep on shilling like, oh, come look at this token, Tron is up another 300%. Like that stuff follows tokens. So now that you see tokens emerging on BSV, now that you see NFTs emerging on BSV, I think it's a great opportunity for someone to kind of, who's maybe not a developer, who's not going to build products, not going to invest millions of dollars to build products, who can take this chance and build something much bigger than CoinGeek. Maybe it's you, Brittany, and Crypto Blitz. There's an opportunity now. I know there's a lot of BSV fans who have tried to be independent media for the last 2-3 years out of their pure passion for Bitcoin, and it's been tough, right? It's like hard to monetize. People try Streamanity. Our team's not done a great job of making that really easy to monetize. So, but I really feel there's a new wave of energy happening on Bitcoin. If I could be a connector for the people in the media to get to access some of the people that are building great things in China, like I'll just name a few entrepreneurs, right? Like people think I'm here to like hate on all these people. I'm not. I'm a biggest champion. Biggest champion of builders on BSV. So Gulu, who is the founder of the Overshoot Games, there's a ticker called OVTS. He's also the founder of the Sensible Protocol, which powered a lot of these things in China. There is Sunny Feng, who I met 2 years ago. He's a brilliant guy. He used to work in like the Chinese like Tencent, Alibaba payment systems. He's really a wealth of knowledge. He's also in the early 30s. He's the one behind ShowBuzz and MetaCoin and things like that. So there's a lot of personalities that are not really truly developed, and there's a lot of coverage of these tokens that are trading on the new weird and wacky AMMs that are coming out. I think there's going to be an explosion. So I think BSV media will evolve very quickly, very, very quickly. And it will not be just a CoinGeek game in the next 2 or 3 months.
So not just looking at the broader picture, but at the smaller things too, the things that are developing, and not just generalizing them and throwing them out there and taught. Yeah, I get that. Well,
yeah, and there's gonna be people who like drill into like, oh, this token had a supply lock today. They burned this amount of tokens. There's another launch event happening next Tuesday. Look out for this. Like this subject matter expertise will get really granular, and it won't just be like the general stuff. That's not what people want, because now people's money is gonna be online, right? People are like, me invested. I bought this donkey on Relay X. What's gonna happen? Like, is there someone who's analyzing the chain to see like these dinosaurs or whatever, the moving, they're on the move, like all this like dedicated analysis that has not really been part of the whole narrative of CoinGeek. Huge opportunities for multiple people to become they'll very quickly rack up way more Twitter followers than I have right now. That's what I think will happen.
Yeah, I mean, people are wanting a lot of that knowledge, a lot of that information. I know when T-Swap was just launching and everything was going crazy and people were talking about it and everything was happening all at once, a lot of people were still sitting on the sidelines like, hey, is somebody going to create a tutorial? Can somebody outline this? What are all these things mean? What is, I get it. I think you're right. I think some good insights
and
into what's to
and now
come.
these organizations will have balance sheet and cash flow to do it. So, for example, I don't run TokenSwap. I am
Right.
investing in TokenSwap, but they could easily be like, okay, here's some TSC tokens to whoever builds this. Here's a hackathon to build more around that. Relay is going to do that, right? So you have basically a community distribution of resources to build all the stuff that is happening. Um, and I think the confidence on Twitter about this alternative vision for Bitcoin, which I think shouldn't be considered alternative, I think this is the original vision of Bitcoin, okay, will start materializing as people start using some of their balance sheet to deploy in a very proof of work way. It's not a, here's a full-time job, you work at this company and you get $200,000 a year. It's a, we need a statistics table for comparing tokens. Here it is. We need like a weekly summary. Here's a bunch of tokens for that. I think that's what's going to happen in Bitcoin.
Well, Jack, I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping it up here. Is there anything that you wanted to say about the future of RelayX, the future of Streamanity, anything in particular that you're excited or just looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, once this token infrastructure is out there, we likely will be able to galvanize the community around all these projects. And really, I think of it like Relay as a decentralized organization. There's so many, and people don't really know. I mean, I myself would rather not be a public-facing person in Bitcoin. But certainly our team members span across the world. They are contributors in so many fronts. I'm just like a spokesperson, to be honest, at this point for Relay. There's so many brilliant minds. I think we want to gather more of that creativity to help on these projects. Like, I don't think of Streamanity as like a Relay subsidiary company. I think of Streamanity as a company that we have not had enough time to devote to it, but we are going to galvanize a whole new group of developers to build that. And so does, maybe there's a partnership between the amazing Bitcoin phone that's coming out on the hackathon, right? We built something called Dimely. Potentially there's a way to collaborate there. I'm just looking forward to a lot of ways to collaborate. And really, Relay does not need to be the biggest piece of the pie in these collaborations. I think of everything as a new opportunity. I look at everything as from today, not from my past, not from like what we think we are. It's just like, maybe you should have 80%, maybe we should have 20%, maybe we should do this. We think of that as, I want to set up a lot of structures that make the most sense for the thing that we're trying to accomplish together. And so I think by this time next year, you might find that I've invested in more companies than I've built, and so I think you got to be very flexible. I hope everyone is, and most likely the people who are most community oriented, most caring about the upside for others, will be the ones that are going to be really successful in the next few years in Bitcoin.
Fantastic. Well put. Well, Jack, I wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing your wealth of knowledge with everybody, with me in particular. And I hope everybody found some value out of today's content. But Jack, thank you again for coming on, and we'll see you next time.